Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Golden Futures Channel, a Canadian exploration company focused on acquiring, advancing, and developing high-potential Canadian precious metal properties. We always have the pleasure to be joined by Stephen, the Chief Executive Officer. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks. It's nice to be back.
And it's always good to get some insight in these tumultuous times. But first and foremost, before we take a broad view image of gold, I wouldn't mind zooming in a little bit because you guys recently defined a major extension to the gold structures and new priority gold targets at the Hercules property in Ontario you have there. Give us a little bit of insight on what's going on the ground floor.
Absolutely. Last fall, just before the snow hit, Gold Spot Discoveries flew a very detailed, high-definition geophysical survey over the entire Hercules property. Historically, there's been a number of smaller surveys, and of course, on top of that, there was the provincial-wide survey, which was very low definition. This allowed us to actually look down, literally on a meter scale, the magnetic characteristics of the gold deposits within the Hercules property. And this is important because one of the chief characteristics of the high-grade zones is a strong affinity with a very unique magnetic rock, a dike rock, and by tracing out where these magnetic dike rocks have gone along these fractures, should get be like a little pointer to go and look in the field for expansions to and understanding the plunge of our gold mineralization as it stands. So the first materials coming back from that survey started coming in January, February, and then in March, and it allowed us to start digesting this. It's just a huge amount of data that is generated by this, and coordinate it with historical results, ground results, geology, geochemistry, but lo and behold, and if anyone has the opportunity to look at our website and our recent press release, we show a very sort of colorful map which delineates these very magnetic zones that follow for kilometers these magnetic dikes. And lo and behold, there's the Golden Mile right next to it. And if you take the fracture and the lineament, the magnetic zone, and follow it out, you've now got almost 7 kilometers of potential strike length. That is, and then in that strike length, with the potential of it, there are some geophysically ideal places to look where the lineament comes out and then splays into two. And those splays, quite often, they are where you'll get a sort of a hive of activity when the mineralization was taking place, and either they'll give us signals as to where to go along the lineament to find more, or it could be that at that point there'll be a whole new Golden Mile vein structure again. This is repeated several times in that area that I'm now calling the Golden Mile area, and it runs right up with stacked veins to the contact of the host rock. And at the contact, the magnetic survey went crazy. It absolutely went crazy. There's a whole series of magnetic areas that we don't know why they're there, and we don't know why they're there. What's happening there, because they're covered with about 2 meters of glacial till, and all we have to do is just take a peek under that till, and it could well be that the Golden Mile is just a stringer associated with the main zone that could be up there. So everybody's gotten incredibly excited. And again, this news release that we put out only covers that 5 or 10% of the property where the Golden Mile area is. The survey covers the whole property. And the geophysicists came back very excited because they said, oh, we see at least 3 more of these zones, these structures with magnetic dikes and so forth, repeated across the property. And you go, oh, wait a sec, we know that there's geochemical indicators of gold zones out there. Now we've got the magnetic, and there is some old trenching associated with these things. And it's adding up to the fact that we've got probably, in terms of highest priority targets, a couple dozen. The high priority targets, we don't even know what they're going to be like. So we'll have to get prospectors out and geologists with their, bringing on some rocks and looking for places that weren't looked at previously for all these new zones. I mean, and it's not unusual to find this type of structure.
Yeah.
40 kilometers to our east is the Greenstone mine. And there they have the same sort of thing where you have these veins that are higher grade. And in the wall rock, you get, these lesser veins and so forth for lower grade mineralization. And they've got a mine there that's going to produce 4.5 million ounces at 1.79 grams per ton.
Yes.
But their resource now, I believe, is between 10 and 12 million ounces. It's just down the road from us. That, to me, tells you that we've got to be looking for that kind of monster on our property too. It's the upside. And the snow is just been cleared in the bush up there. It's drying out, and we should have our crews up there as soon as we can. And I got that weather report from our First Nations group out of Beardmore.
So lots to look forward to here, man. I can't wait to see as you guys further expand on this story, and just kind of taking a broad view perspective. I know we used to touch on gold in the past, and it's kind of intriguing, right? Because we've seen kind of gold consolidate after the big inflationary period, but it almost feels like it's setting up for a second run here as people start speculating that the real estate market's getting a little bit iffier here. The stock market is still seeing some consolidation, and it's getting very intriguing for the gold story again, I think, and it's being widely underlooked since it's consolidated back into the 1800 range. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it. I mean, you guys are still in a great price point for margin and everything as well, right?
I do, and I think that we are right now reeling from the effects of the years of printing money by the central banks and being flooded with literally cash. And during that same period, we had no inflation. And now, we're coming out of the pandemic. We want to go buy things. Well, we can't supply it. So what you can buy is in high demand, driving prices up. But as we go forward here, and we start realizing that this inflation is not just a fleeting thing, but it's rolling over on itself and gaining momentum. We need an anchor for our money. We need something that's going to underpin the cash we have, rather than let it be diluted down with this repeated inflation, or as we're getting in the supermarket, shrinkflation. Prices aren't going up, but what you can buy is going down. Same thing. So I see that the gold market should be looked upon again, not just as a safe harbor, but actually a good investment in inflationary times. Most of the good metals analysts I've talked to are looking for at least an 1850 average gold price for as we go through this year, and that actually in itself is a record. If you look at it in Canadian dollar value range of, $23, $24, $2,500 an ounce, and the fact that, we've got dollar equivalents on most of our operating costs up here, Canadian operations are going to be incredibly favored. Thank you very much. Courtesy to the exchange rate too. So what do we got that we can offer to the market? Well, we've got a starting resource. We've got about 250,000 ounces and 1 million tons of rock. We know that we've got zones that are wide open. I mean, we have more blue sky than Montana, to be looking at gold occurrences. We're in Ontario, which is one of the best jurisdictions in the world. We have support of our local First Nations. What we're missing here is the market. And that, I think, we can be self-producing as we generate more positive news about what we're working on here. We do have the geophysicists working on not the Golden Mile area geophysics, but the whole property and we'll get that out to the market as soon as we can when we have the final targeting there. But I think I mentioned very early one of our conversations, these corridors of gold that I felt were there geologically and geochemically. Now the geophysics is lining these things up too. So in terms of strike length of what to look for, each one of these corridors goes practically right across the intrusive host, which is up to 8 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's a tremendous to see stacking of these things as you go along. I'm not going to say the entire truce is not a gold zone, but certainly there's great corridors in there for finding lots more gold and maybe some incredible high grade to get to.
I think this has been an incredibly insightful conversation. I appreciate your time today, Steve. I'm going to pass the question off to the viewers here. We'd love to know what you guys think about all of this in that comment section below. Consider subscribing because, again, as that news hits the wire, we'll always update you here. But stay cool, stay awesome. And as always, I look forward to catching you in the next one.